Hello everyone and welcome to my new video. Today I will be reviewing the whole of 2022 for Duel Links and what happened and what's up in the next year. First of all, let's talk about the game. 2022 started with the remnants of the Arc 5 era, decks being the most powerful, stuff like Harpies, Gaia Dragons, Melodious, which was like one of the few if only lone Shark 5 deck that had any meta relevance at all. So these decks, they were dominant and then they were nerfed. I forgot how, for the most part. I know Harpies took a lot of hits. Gaia had the skill change or whatever, just in time to make room for some of the newer decks. The brain geniuses at Duel Links Meta said that Magnet Warriors, after the nerfs, was going to be the best and the strongest deck of the February 2022 KC Cup. It's the deck to beat. Tier 1, undisputed. They have an out to Melodious, so clearly they are going to be the best deck, right? Then Phantom Knight happened. Phantom Knight, a deck that had a searchable, Fog Blade, which was just way better Fiendish Chain, and was like really cheap, easy to make, and extremely consistent, and had a lot of like tips, uh, and tricks up its sleeve, and yeah, oops. Did you know how many Magnet Warriors list ended up topping the February 22 KC Cup? Two. Let that sink in next time you hear something scandalous about DLM's opinions, just so you know. But yeah, after Phantom Knights took a hit, and some other decks took place. Gendora was one of the strongest contender of this year, which is such a weird sentence to say, right? A bunch of cards that only two of which were actually released in Duel Links was one of the strongest decks of the April to June formats, which is insane. All carried by a very powerful consistency skill. I've cut the part that was irrelevant about gadgets and silent magicians. But the idea is, this is a completely busted skill that enables a deck that would never have like functioned otherwise. It's just insane. I played this deck a lot and I still defend it to this day. I think it's kind of fun. Um, but this does set a precedent for what skills in the future of Duel Links will look like, right? Yeah, also DDDs got a third swing at the metagame after the buff to the Command of the Doom skill. Command of the Doom King skill. That was bad. Um, which basically enabled them to set up scales for free, something that was not the first time it happened. The Odd scale came beforehand, but gave DDD the boost it needed in order to make very strong punishing boards turn 1, and also have the potential to easily OTK going second. This was a very strong skill and I'm glad it got nerfed. Also, Burning Abyss received a significant buff. A deck that has been present in the game for a while received a crucial addition in the form of Beatrice, which some people, very stupid people, me, said would not make the deck very good or that much better at all, which was completely wrong. Check this out. These are the cog lists, the deck with which I cogged in May and June 2022. That's DDD, just running the 3 Book of Moons. I think I only had 2 Doom Kings at the time, but this was more than enough, like, to win. And then, Burning Abyss with Beatrice being able to dump a lot of like really good cards, and the Fingri thing that were there for the Galaxy matchup. And I'm gonna talk about fucking Galaxy. But unfortunately, these very cool and fun decks that dominated the, let's say, spring to summer format were nerfed not once but twice, only 1 month apart. The June ban list took care of some of the most egregious elements of DDDs, but still left the deck playable. Same for Burning Abyss, you had to get Scale Prisoner, which I thought was a really funny deck. And then the July ban list, decimated DDDs by restricting some of their stronger playmakers, and also hurts Burning Abyss once again. These decks are still playable to this day, but it's clear that they were no longer as consistent and reliable to compete with. What would come next? And what did come next was pretty miserable, actually. Rose Dragons received a huge skill buff and another buff with the release of Yazi, which just said, can't be targeted, go fuck yourself. Um, which was, one of the best tonal options any deck had access to. So that was fun. Also, a very strong consistency skill. See what I meant with the Gendora one? This is just another, basically free switcheroo for the deck. That allowed you to easily set up turn 1, but also turn 2, maybe even turn 3, which was insane. Other decks also got a lot of support. I didn't talk about Galaxy earlier, but it was active during that time, thanks to a busted out DS skill that is still absolutely bonkers to this day and resulted in Cyberstyle-like deck building for, Galaxy players. Deck was basically on autopilot for the whole time. Liquid Soldier gave heroes a bunch of variants that all aimed to Turbo Sunrise, and then use the Liquid Soldier effect to dig deeper into the deck and accrue a massive card advantage, and be able to either OTK or just stall out the game with favorite duel until they could win, which wasn't really fun. And mekklords already had a very strong consistency skill in mekklord refinements, but no real payoff until Triskelion dropped and gave the deck an easy way to OTK, basically. And this is from someone that played and cogged with the deck. This was a bit too much. Fortunately, all of these decks, well, most of these decks were nerfed. Rose Dragons, Heroes, and mekklords received hits to their cards. Mekklords and Rose Dragons received hits to their skills as well. And Galaxy got fucking nothing. But it's fine, it's cool. Because this was more than enough to, clear away for what would come next. Oh, and by the way, I got to say goodbye to Mekklords in September 2022, right before the Vrain's release. With this deck that abides by the post-ban list deck building rules, only playing 1 compulse and 2 assemblies. And, this was a pretty fun time overall. I'm not gonna miss that deck, all things considered. I'm sorry. Also, something I forgot to mention is that a lot of, other decks were playable during that year and during those formats. They were not all, they did not all make a huge impact on metagame, but they were all pretty fun to play and experiment with. Cleaforts were one of my favorites, dropping with the Gandora box. Metal Foes and Necros, I think, had a similar history where... never mind, actually. Metal Foes dropped first, and then Necros got a bunch of their pieces spread across 2 main boxes. Both decks were extremely playable during that time. Fluffles, unfortunately, did not do much during its lifetime, but it was a fun and cheap OTK deck to be building. And Fossils and Warrock, all contained within the same box, were also, pretty fun for the, low investment that they required. So all in all, lots of deck diversity. And then Vrain's dropped, and Vrain's dropped not with a whisper, but with a bang, with the release of Salamangreat, one of the best decks in the TCG for a very long time. A very strong rogue deck to this day in the TCG. A deck that was extremely cheap to build in Duel Links. A deck that had a clear and defined game plan. A lot of recursion, a lot of grinding power. Just an absolutely amazing deck all around. I think releasing Gazelle and Roar was definitely too much for what the game could handle. I still to this day disagree with the opinion that Salamangreat was a tier 0 deck, but it definitely was the best deck of the early Vrain's format, and now that it is no longer able to play Gazelle and Roar, I think this deck is basically worthless, and the people that keep insisting that it's still very good, trust us, are coping out of their minds. I'm sorry. Other prevalent decks during the beginning of the Vrain's era with the release of Braver Victory are Mech Knights and Infernoids. And you know how much I love Infernoids. These decks have the same strength as Salamangreat going first, meaning that if they get to go first, if they get to set up, they basically win the game, right? With Morningstar, you get the cards you need to lock out your opponent out of playing the game at all. And with Infernoids, you resolve Void Feast, and then you set up for a massive swing and OTK next turn. The fact that these decks are so dominant only got better with the nerfs of Salamangreat is proof to me that the real strength in Duel Links is being able to unequivocally go first and set up without fear of disruption, which is something that might change in the future. So, who knows? But yeah, um, it's no wonder that these decks are the best decks of the current formats, and I think they're going to be pretty good until they eventually get nerfed. The release of Reigns also gave us a couple more cards that boosted a couple of very specific decks. Trains and Mermails, well, Mermails, Atlanteans, well, Water Exes in general, were kind of underdog decks that either reached their peak or never really had a chance to shine. And the release of Double Anger Knuckle, whatever it's called, and Atlantean Dragoons gave some huge boost to these respective decks and allowed them to, if not become meta-defining threats, be still pretty good rogue options that you had to respect. The release of Cold Talker was also pretty well handled. The deck immediately benefited from the cyber support released in the first box, I think Link Revolution, forgot what it's called. And the deck has a pretty clear, playstyle, can be mixed and matched with other decent and potentially more powerful decks, including but not limited to Mech Knights. So yeah, I think it's one of these decks that's only going to get stronger as we get more and more Cold Soko support in the upcoming months. And yeah, during that format, I played Narc 5 deck when it started. I remember cogging with Odd Eyes because the folks at DLM insisted that it was the best counter to Salamangreat. And indeed, it was a pretty good counter to Salamangreat. Turns out, a raw can't negate just Pendulum, summoning Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon and being over them for massive damage. So, this was a pretty fun cog run. And then you know what happened? I discovered Infernoids and never looked back. Um, I think that enough time has passed now to be able to truly claim that, Infernoids lists are fully polished and optimized, and the deck has probably reached its peak. And it's only going to go downhill from there as the deck starts receiving nerfs and other better decks come out of the floodgates to destroy it. But still the best deck, right? Yeah. So what's next for Duel Links? What new world is going to drop in 2023? Who knows? I don't know. I don't know if you know, but I don't. There were a couple of options. Sabbath's in a whole completely different game, but the OCG manga has not been released in the West, as far as I know, so that might not resonate at all with Western audiences. So I don't know what could happen next. Who knows? There's also a bunch of archetypes that we could receive. Some with historical significance, like Shadows. Some that are link-based, like Orcust and Tri-Brigades, which I particularly like. I put Springguns there because I love Springguns. We're only going to get more archetypes released throughout the upcoming months. Some of these will be meta defining, some of these won't be. It's going to be a fun ride, no matter what happens. And I guess the real important part of asking questions about the future of Duel Links is being able to give this very definitive answer of who knows. Part 2, the community. You probably know this already, but Master Duel released this year in January. As a matter of fact, it dropped at the beginning of 2022 without any fanfare over it. It just dropped. It just released, and nobody was really expecting it. And as a result, Duel Links, took a hit because people went to play the newest big game. A lot of content creators that were focused on Duel Links suddenly moved to Master Duel and never pretty much looked back, including the ever infamous Decade. And is Duel Links dying? Is this the end of Duel Links? No, it's not, you fucking idiots. Duel Links is not dying. You can see here, yeah, sure. The people stopped playing the game when Master Duel released. Oh, but what's this? There's a new, peak of users over there and over there. And also something that you gotta remember is like most people playing Duel Links are playing the game on mobile phones and using Steam charts as a way to track whether a game is dying or not. It's not very interesting. It's kind of limited. Stop doing this. I need to get an App Annie account back again, by the way. Um, Also, people started realizing that Master Duel not only was cracked up to be very limited in terms of content you can actually do in the game. Like you start out playing Duel Links and you have like 5 worlds to unlock and so many characters to get and to grind and stage missions and events that you can do, and there's a PvP ladder you can jump immediately, but there's also a casual ladder. Meanwhile in Master Duel you had like 8 solo gates and only one way to play PvP, and it was competitive ranked. And the format that you were playing was basically 2020 format, except Mystic Mine is not legal, but Maxi is. Which, boring shit. Very tedious, and people got tired of that real quick. Meanwhile, in the TCG, 2022 was a fucking mess. What started as Sword Soul format quickly devolved into, Sprite is gonna be tier 0. Oh wait, Tier Elements is actually tier 0. Oh wait, Mystic Mine is winning YCSs, and Through Under Ease is there too. So, Duel Links is still doing well. It's not doing as well as it has been. The subreddit is still the main place where you can actually discuss the game and exchange with people. And the mods are a bit less active than they used to be, but they're still there. And, people are still discussing and talking about the game. And this is cool for the most part. And also, there's a Duel Links Discord. On the plus side, something that I think was really cool that happened this year is me. That was so sounded so pretentious. Holy shit. Something that was really cool that happened this year is I started being more active on the dueling subreddits, and moving from making shitty long posts that nobody read to making memes that people actually started enjoying and finding funny. And from these memes I evolved to making visual guides in order to talk about some decks that were coming and explain some of the mechanics. Like this visual guide to the Extra Monster Zone and Link Monsters, I've been told that a lot of people unfamiliar with Link Monsters, understand how all this shit worked and, get ready for the release of Range, which I thought was, pretty cool. And from these visual guides, I started making, video guides and transitioning to YouTube content creation. And so far, it's been pretty well received, and you people have been absolutely supportive, and I'm super, super grateful for that. And I can't wait to keep growing the channel and making another, even more better content as the months drag by. Also, something that was really cool that I discovered this year is all these side stuff that maybe I was not completely aware before, but like some websites and resources and groups and communities that developed around Duel Links. There's a Guild of Gurus whose Discord server is absolutely fantastic and who try to organize small scale events and stuff that is really fun for the community overall. Duel Links Data Core that I think I had noticed before, but started really growing more active over the past few months, including on the subreddit. They launched that Discord server and all. And Duel Links Free to Play, which I don't know if you knew, but they launched their website recently. A website where you can find free to play deck lists and guides and stuff. And I think this is, really interesting and important. In a way, Decade and the Duel Links meta people leaving Duel Links in order to focus on Master Duel might have been one of the best things that happened to Duel Links this year, because it's led to a bunch of people and websites and groups and communities trying to fill the void that these have created. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is basically monopolies suck, and now that there's no longer a monopoly on Duel Links content, uh, people, including myself, get to get a bit more leeway and prosper more than they used to be, which is cool. All in all, 2022, pretty good year for Duel Links. Can't wait to see what happened in 2023. Can't wait to see which archetypes are going to be released next, and which sub communities are going to become the most relevant in Duel Links discussion. I think the game still has a lot of potential. I also think we are like past the peak that was the DSOD era, with huge events being organized by Konami to attract new people to the game. But I don't think that the game is dying. I think it is still just living its life, and we should keep doing as well, and keep enjoying the game. And yeah, it's basically what I had to say. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for supporting my content throughout the year, whether it was on Reddit or YouTube or I don't know if I did some other stuff. Probably didn't. But I hope to see you all as well in 2023. And in the meantime, make sure to take care of yourselves. Happy holidays, and see you next time. Bye bye.